Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1360 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Thursday evening into Friday here to begin the month of December. And if you listen to this podcast, this is actually going to be part 2 of 2 with my friend Tyler Jones. If you missed it, part 1 should be available in your feed right now, and I would definitely encourage you to listen to these in chronological order, part 1 before part 2. But a deep dive with Tyler, always fun to talk to him. It's kind of the voice of the Hawks fan, and always fun to talk to him in any capacity, much less about the Hawks. Also, we have injury updates on that part 1 about John Collins and DeAndre Hunter, and much more about the Nuggets game on Friday, etc. So listen to that. I appreciate you checking out the podcast as always. And after the intro, I'll be back with myself and Tyler.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Somebody asked me today on Twitter, and I wasn't being mean about it at all. It was just like, they have 14 guys on the roster right now. They have an open roster spot. Like, they could sign someone, and they probably need to sign a big. They honestly probably need to get another guy on the roster that's either at least power forward size. And Landry, I think to his credit, I asked about it at media day, and Landry admitted on the podium into the microphone that it was about money. That's why they only had 14 guys. They were watching the luxury tax. And by the way, that's an ownership decision. That's not a Travis and Landry decision. That's an ownership decision. But so people ask about like College Park and stuff. They have to sign anybody they use from College Park. They have to sign and pay. Like, you can't just call a guy up from College Park. I know it's kind of a weird rule with the way that works, but like, they can't call Chris Silva and just put him in the game. Like, they have to sign him to a contract. So yeah, I think that they probably need to get somebody else now, especially if Jalen's got that ankle. I don't know about Jalen's ankle. He was with the team, so I don't think he's like long-term out. Yeah. But if he can't play, and Kaminsky looks not good, so they need some depth in the front court.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they used the mid-level or all the options that are available to them as an NBA franchise to sign a quality
or even have 15 players. I mean, because the thing is, if they had 15 guys, I'm pretty sure they would have used that spot on at least a power forward size player. Like that was Mo Harkless' spot, and they obviously traded Mo Harkless to save money to get Vic Krejci and also save money. But they could use another. Glenn's been saying it like in kind of joking fashion about Shawnee Brown. They could use Shawnee Brown right now, like 100%.
They could really use Shawnee Brown, and I just don't know. And I think this is another point. Fans, why are fans feeling like this anxiety is because, you're watching Herter have the time of his life in Sacramento. Amazing what ball movement and will do to a player. It's almost as if a basketball player plays better if they're in a more defined role and they have a function on a team. While we run the Trae Young offense or whatever, but I feel the frustration because we give up 3 first-round picks, 2 of them unprotected first, another one a Charlotte pick, which is going to be 2 seconds, so it's really 2.
That's the Cam. That's the Cam Reddish pick. By the way.
Yeah, so we trade 2 unprotected first. That's a win now. We're trying to win right now. Move.
Yep.
And then we follow that up by trading Kevin Herter. Not only did we trade him, we traded him before the market even materialized for his position in his player archetype. When his contemporaries are making $25+ million a season, and you know how good he is. Granted, he's not in a $25 million role, but the talent is there. You just trade him you don't trade them for talent. You trade them to get under the luxury tax. And now you're in a situation where I'm like, how can this Hawks team get better if they're not willing to commit real money to improve the roster and improve the team? I look at this coaching staff. Even it goes even farther to the coaching staff. I'm like, Nate McMillan, if Nate McMillan wants to be the head coach, that's fine. Hire an offensive coordinator or something just to get the, because you know you don't have the spacing that you did last year. Nate wants to play a certain style that's cute. We don't have the pieces for it. We do not have the spacing to play this type of offense. Like this is such a I'm like, hire a real coach. So
I agree. No, and that's the thing about like
more flow to the offense.
It's understated. If you're not like a total diehard, you wouldn't be thinking about this, and I get why. But like, even just the progression of assistants, and this is not a negative thing about Joe. Joe Prunty's a pro. Like, he's been around forever. Mike Longobardi is a good coach. He's a defensive guy. Like, all of their offensive scheme guys are gone. It went from Lloyd.
They went from the coaching staff. Like they took, like, they fired Lloyd, which we can argue back and forth. Should they? Shouldn't they?
It's fine. I mean, it worked out fine. I mean,
it worked out great because they made it to the Eastern Conference Final. Nate McMillan was the steady hand that team needed for that moment. But they had offensive coaches who.
I mean, the best case scenario
where these guys needed to be on the floor.
Well, and that's the thing about it.
Just Trae Young.
That's the thing about it. Like, if you just wanted Nate, let's just say, for instance, like, we wanted Nate, fine. The best case scenario for Nate was actually Nate with Lloyd's assistance, because Nate had guys that had already designed the offense, that they ran better stuff with the previous regime. Now, there were other issues, obviously. The locker room was lost. That was very clear. Nate was the steady hand. It's a meme now, but the calm, cool, and collected stuff works. Nate is good at that stuff. But Melvin Hunt, Chris Gent, those guys were offensive designers that they don't have anymore on the staff. And it's not like, again, it's not me bad-mouthing anybody on the staff now, but Nate brought in his guys, and Nate's guys think like Nate. They're not offensive innovators. Like, I would love if Nate had a proven, like, obviously the dream scenario is like 75-year-old Mike D'Antoni comes and sits down next to Nate. But like he did for Steve Nash in Brooklyn, when it was like, why is he a assistant coach? Like, this is weird. But like, somebody like that, it doesn't have to be D'Antoni, but like somebody has enough standing to actually like be in charge of the offense and have Nate be the CEO. And that would work. Because like I said, I don't think Nate is a terrible coach. And I'm sure people are now mad at me for saying that, when they were mad at me for being too low on Nate 2 years ago. Now I'm too high on Nate. Nate's the same guy he's always been, man. Nothing's changed. Nate's the same guy. It's just that
but to me, I'm like, I look at this coaching staff and I'm like, this is a reflection on ownership and management. Like, do we not have the resources to find, like, you have to, there is no way people within the Hawks organization don't understand Nate's flaws as a head coach, like Nate's shortcomings.
I mean, there was a report. There was a report. Remember the report from Chris Kirchner of The Athletic last year after the playoffs, when he reported, and listen, he was at The Athletic and was plugged in. He reported that the organization basically knew that they were almost drawing dead in that series, because it was in part because of Nate versus Spoelstra. And listen, Spoelstra's awesome. So like, that's what it is. But, and there's a history there too. Like, Nate couldn't beat him in Indiana either. But that's that's a one-off. But like, I'm assuming that Chris got that from somebody on the organization that thought that. So somebody there understood, even in that one playoff series, that like, we're at a disadvantage here schematically. And obviously that's different than going for a full season. But I'm not an X's and O's genius. Like, I rely on people like Glenn. Like, people are smarter than I am. I watch a lot of basketball. I know what's going on. Glenn's a lot smarter than I am about this stuff. Everybody kind of notices. Like, people around the league. I've been purposely the last few weeks asking around people that I trust, like, hey, what do you think of the Hawks, like, schematically? Like, forget players. Like, how are they running there? And everybody's kind of like, it just looks like a Nate McMillan offense, which is not a positive thing. Like, it's just like, it doesn't match personnel. And that's the thing about, if you have perfect personnel, it can work, which we saw last year. But it's the slow cascade from better stuff to last year. They still had Trae and personnel, and Trae's still awesome. He's having kind of a shaky year for him. He's still, by the way, a shaky year for him. He's averaging like 28 and 9. Like, Trae's really good, man. But it's everything. And the luxury tax is the obvious punching bag, and I'm guilty of that too, because it's inferior. I mean, I'm not a fan anymore. You are. You can speak to it more than I can. If I was a fan of this team this summer, I would have been furious. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline, and December is here now. The NBA season is in full swing with plenty of football, hockey, and other action going on as well. BetOnline is the number one source for all the wagering information you're looking for, as well as stats, news, and analysis this season. You can get the latest odds and trends for every pro and college league out there at BetOnline. That includes the latest in football, basketball, of course. They have soccer and esports and golf and tennis and auto racing, horse racing, World Cup stuff is definitely full swing right now as well, taking over the entire world basically when it comes to sports. And BetOnline is also very useful, engaging the latest on the Hawks. They have the latest odds and lines they're looking for, spreads, totals, money lines, also future stuff on the team side or individual awards. BetOnline is also the fastest and easiest way to get your sports betting fix. If you love sports podcasts, you can also find that at BetOnline as well. Check out BetOnline right now on a mobile device or your computer to learn more about all the trends and the action in the sports world. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Brad, I feel like an idiot. You make the move to get DeJounte Murray, you just immediately trade Kevin Huerter for nothing, and I'm like, well, I just feel stupid for rooting for this team. Like, what's the point? Like, are we ever going to pay the tax? Like,
well, and
song and dance again next offseason with Bogey?
I was going to say, you and I talked about this already. Next, and I'm not trying to be a fatalistic person. This coming summer, there was already a report. Mike Scott reported it. Mike Scott was a good reporter, and he reported already the Hawks have been linked to moving at least one of Collins, Bogey, and Capela for the tax. Because, by the way, if they just run this group back, they're over the tax without adding anybody else. So if it's October and November and people are already like, by the way, the Hawks are going to go under the tax for next year, like, we're already doing this. We're doing this 10 months ahead.
It's just like, how are you ever going to build the roster to compete with the best teams in the NBA if you're going to continue to push the luxury tax bill down the well? Like look what the Celtics did. The Celtics come off a title run, best team in the Eastern Conference, have a great core, and they add to it, and they're paying the tax, and they're happy to do it. But like, you look at the other end, like the Golden State Warriors, granted, they have the biggest luxury tax bill in the league. They lost key veterans, and now their bench is way worse, and they're in the worst position than they were last year because they don't have the infrastructure in the bench to support their team. So it's like teams that get the way to get better is to add talent while retaining the guys you already have, so you can build an offensive and defensive team like structure. But we come off a season where we get smoked by the Heat. I mean, that's just what happened. Miami Heat, who aren't relative talent-wise, pure talent-wise on the floor, really aren't that much better than the Hawks. If they were better, like even with all the injuries, like I still think that series should have been more competitive than what it was. Like, you still had a Kongu out there, you still had Trae Young, and how can you watch that? How can you watch that? Be like, all right, we need to get another ball handler on this team. So we get DeJounte Murray, but we're going to take away Trae Young's weapons and his spacing so that everybody's just going to be worse offensively. Like, it's just this team knows better, but it's like, well, we don't want to pay the tax. And it's like, well, if that's a primary concern, how good can you possibly be? Like, the Hawks have lost too many games this season due to their lackluster bench. Like, that's the issue. Like, the starters, we can nitpick the Collins Capela fit. We can talk about DeJounte and Trae. The starters have been good. Correct. They've been good. Yeah. Our bench, what the Hawks are bringing off the bench is nothing compared to the other teams in the NBA. Hawks have one of the worst benches in the NBA, and it's like it's combination of personnel, scheme, age, youth, with veteran, unproven like vets like Aaron Holiday, who's basically still relatively a young guy. But it's like you're setting this team up to be the same exact team they were last year, where they're going to ultimately. This team is only going to go as far as how healthy Capela can be. Like that's a situation where the Hawks have all this talent, but at the end of the day, because of the nature of this offense and the nature of the defense, like how important it is for Capela to be on the floor because our wings can't grab a single rebound. Like, Capela is just so overly important, and he's like it's the Rudy Gobert issue. Like there's going to come a time against a team where you're going to play a team where you're really going to want to have Capela off the floor, but you can't do it.
They can't do it. No, and then honestly, to back you up, there are two guys on the team right now that have what I would describe as significant on-off splits. You can guess who they are.
Trae
Clint Capela and Trae Young. And like those guys play together, which is part of it, but they also play together, which is part of it. Those two guys are the most, and I'm not saying that Clint Capela is better than DeJounte Murray at basketball. I'm not. He has been better and more valuable to the Hawks this season than DeJounte Murray has been.
And you gave up 2 unprotected firsts, and you've put DeJounte in a situation where he's not clearly the number 2 guy on this team. Like I know he's averaging like I think he's still averaging,
and he obviously is on offense. Like
he has the usage, but it's like I'm talking about raw impact on the team. You give up 2 unprotected first, you're expecting an all-star caliber basketball player, and that's not what they've gotten. He's been worse. In part because one, I don't think this scheme is getting the best out of him, and 2, he's playing with no spacing. Like you're putting him out there with lineups that aren't going to work offensively.
Well, that's some of the problem. Him and Trae have similar issues with the lack of spacing. I don't mean this in a mean way to DeJounte. Trae is just better than DeJounte is, so Trae manages it a little bit better than DeJounte does on offense. But the same problems we talked about with Trae and not having spacing around him also apply to DeJounte, almost worse. Like we talked about the lineups with DeJounte. DeJounte has been playing with AJ a decent amount, but like he's been having to deal with Trent Forrest. And he's been having to deal with Aaron Holiday, and he's been having to deal with Jalen Johnson more than Trae has been. Because at least Trae is usually playing with DeAndre Hunter, and he's usually playing with Capela, who just is a monster and everything. But I don't know. I don't. It's not even being negative about DeJounte. I think DeJounte has been like slightly below what he should be so far, but not like he's been terrible. He hasn't been. He's in a couple bad games for sure, but like he's been fine.
He's been fine. Like he's
been
overall,
fine.
Like, I'm still happy the Hawks got him. I'm just annoyed that the Hawks didn't pair him with Kevin Huerter. I'd love to see DeJounte Murray next to Kevin Huerter, next to AJ Griffin.
Now I'm gonna be positive now, just for 1 second, Tyler, just to get it on the. I'm gonna spin it because we're gonna talk about AJ, and you asked me to talk about AJ at some point. I want to just say, if Bogey is Bogey, he will help him a lot in a lot of different ways. And now that is a question. Bogey has not played basketball in a competitive capacity since April, and he was dragging his knee around then. That was 7+ months ago. So I think people need to be careful expecting too much out of Bogey, especially early on. But at a bare minimum, Bogey, even with half a knee, is a good NBA basketball player, and he can shoot the heck out of the ball. And like, I do think that as much as you and I agree on the Huerter thing, it's looked worse because they haven't had Bogey too. So the hope would be, if you're going to put on your optimist hat, the hope would be Bogey and AJ having 2 real shooters, 2 real wings who have real talent on offense to go around your guys in Trae and DeJounte. That would be fun. Because I mean, we said it all the time back in the day. There was always talk about how the Hawks couldn't play Trae, Huerter, and Bogey together. Yet, whenever they did, it always worked.
Best line, always the best lineup. Got them to the conference finals.
It's just for
the NBA finals, but
right. It's just one of those things. So like,
but we had what we had in Cam Reddish. So
I understand that's a whole other issue. We'll save for another day. But I hope that the combination of getting Bogey back and honestly, I think AJ's going to play more and more and more. Like, the Hunter thing right now, obviously, is going to play more just because of that. But even when Hunter's back, I think AJ and Bogey become your backup wings, and now you have 5 perimeter guys that you are going to lean on, and it's the 2 lead guards, AJ, Bogey, and Hunter, and then you'll play somebody else, whether it's Aaron or whether it's Trent Forrest or whether it's Justin, whoever. But you have 5 perimeter guys, AJ being the 5th, that you presumably will want to lean on. And that's a pretty good foundation to have 5 of those guys on the perimeter. And you can trade off Trae and DeJounte, and like the lineups make a lot more sense when you have Bogey and AJ. Like that combination really helps. I know AJ's 19 years old, but he's already playing well enough to be in that group.
And what you really like with Bogey is he brings his own offensive system because you're going to run screens for him. You're going to and he's going to like if he's healthy and he's good to go, he's going to be somebody who can involve a Kongu, who can involve Jalen Johnson because he's always moving, and he's going to require DeJounte Murray and even Trae Young. We've seen it with Trae Young too. Like he requires those guys to be active participants in the offense because Bogey is kind of an offensive. He's very much in the Kyle Korver realm of. I mean, he's more than just like a pure spot up 3-point shooter. Like he's somebody who's going to move, create opportunities for others. Like, and we've seen the best of what that can do. That can really, boost the offense. So like Bogey really is a big deal. Like if you're not a Hawks fan, you're listening to this podcast just for whatever reason. Like Bogdanovic has been incredible for the Hawks, and like they're really going.
Whenever he's healthy, he's been great.
Yeah, agreed. So and he's been a great pickup for this team, and like. He should help combined with, AJ Griffin's. I mean, AJ Griffin's been great. Like it's hard to have really many complaints about him as a basketball player.
No, I mean, even I, like I famously, I'm not high on rookies, but AJ, even defensively, like he's not good yet, but he's for a 19-year-old rookie, man, like he's been fine. Like he's active.
He's pesky. He's pesky. Yeah. He gets in passing lanes. He gets steals. Like he makes plays on defense, and like also he's very good at using the fact that he's 225 pounds. Like he's very good at walling guys off at
and no turnovers on offense. Like he takes care of the ball on offense, and part of that's because he shoots a lot. But like they want him to shoot a lot. Like he should have a green light, and he does. He gets up threes. He's taking like half a shots from 3-point range. He's obviously a great shooter. He's more than a shooter too. Like he's clearly got some verve off the dribble. Like the next thing for him is like getting all the way to the rim. That's the next question for AJ. Like whether he can do that. But his mid-range game is already good. Like did you see the double pump pull up that he hit last night in Orlando? Like he got caught in the air. I saw like he wasn't trying to do that. He wasn't trying to do that. But like he got up there. He was like, this is gonna get blocked, and he pulled it. And still shot it anyway and made it. And I'm like, guys can't do that, man. That's not a shot that guys make. Like, and he made it like calmly. It was like, all right.
He's got a lot of that. He's got a nice little fadeaway where it's very it reminds me of Joe Johnson. It's a different angle than Joe shot it.
Yeah.
But like he's very good at using his shoulders to create separation when he doesn't have his handle anymore. Like he's very good at creating separation with his body to get himself in prime shooting position and to make the shot. Like for his age, like just he's only 19 plus he's a rookie, and just like the talent that he has, like he's going to be a very good basketball player for a long time in this league because he's already good, and so that's exciting.
Somebody asked me this the other day. I want to know what you think. Assume AJ has no health issues. Because he hasn't so far. Like he had the pre-draft stuff, but he's been healthy since he got here. Looks great. 19 years old. Assume a regular health thing. What? How many guys are more important to the future? Let's say the 3 to 6 year future of the Hawks. AJ Griffin on the roster. Trae is number one, obviously. How far do you have to go down to get to AJ? Not very far. I don't think.
No, because you think about it, I was going to say, I think he's in the top 5. He might be high. Like
I think it's even higher, honestly. And
honestly, because like he has the potential to actually be good on defense as well, plus his size and his shooting and his handle.
I don't mean to. I'm not saying that he's going to be this, and I always try to keep people from going too crazy about young guys. Like, but we can. AJ Griffin could be a multi-time All-Star. Like he had that profile of a guy where he could average 20 efficiently as a 6'6" wing who could play good enough defense. Like I know people have been talking about Chris Middleton recently. That's a pretty decent comparison for him. It's not perfect, but like I get it. Like that kind of player, like where Middleton's like a multi-time All-Star, like a top 35 guy in the league, probably maybe even higher. Like he could be that, and that's beyond it being a heist in the draft. Like if he has that kind of ceiling, that's really important because as much as I like Okongwu and as much as I like other guys on this roster, like the only guys on the roster that can be that level of good, even in the future, are the two guys that are already a level good on the roster. And Trey and DeJounte. Like, I think AJ's ceiling is higher than anybody else's on the team. So
that's not something we would have said when the Hawks drafted him either.
Like, it looks great. I mean, that looks like Travis has had
that's very spot, man. It's very obvious watching him now that he was not healthy at all during that Duke year. Like
he looks like he did in high school.
He looks like he's got his quickness back. Like he can move his feet. Like he couldn't move at all.
You see it on defense too, but you especially see it with the ball in his hands on offense. Like not a spot up. When he gets the ball, like he can attack now, and he's got more juice. Like he's not ever going to be like the most explosive guy going to the rim. That's not really what he does. But he can get where he wants to go now in a way that he wasn't doing that much at Duke. And I purposely have asked people that saw him play more high school than I did to be like, is this kind of what y'all saw in high school? Because, he was the number one guy in that class for a while in high school. And this is like, people are like, yeah, this is what he was in high school. Like, this is what he's supposed to be. And knock on wood, like the injury stuff and the health stuff, but like he looks fantastic. And I mean, it's crazy. Like I did not think by the end of November of this season that I especially would be like, got to play him as much as possible. Like that's crazy because like I expected him to be not bad because he can shoot, but like I thought he was gonna be like, all right, they need AJ to shoot some until Bogey gets back. And now it's like AJ Griffin is already an NBA rotation player at 19. That's pretty good, like a real one. And not just in the way that he's actually playing. He's actually like should be a rotation player. Like he could play anywhere because he's 6'7" and he's thick and he's strong and like he does have weaknesses defensively still, but like I think in 2 years he'll be fine, maybe even better than fine.
His weaknesses defensively aren't due to a lack of athleticism or a lack of ability.
No,
a lot of it feels like a lack of
rookie
knowledge.
stuff. It's
like
rookie stuff.
A lack of knowledge. Like
yes,
the Cavs game, they were like the Cavs game. I wouldn't even say he was playing that poor of defense. Like Donovan Mitchell was playing incredible basketball right now, but I thought he had some possessions where when he knew what to do and where to be, like he was given, like he did a decent enough job, like during that Cavs game. Like he did his job enough to the point that, they were like, and I really like that for a rookie. He was willing to take on the challenge. I mean, granted, he has to because he's playing next to Trae Young.
Yeah.
Like,
he has no choice.
19-year-old going up against Donovan Mitchell, one of the best attacking perimeter players in the NBA, like. And he was willing to get like, and he was getting beat, but he was getting right after it, like next play. And I'm like, that type of mentality is what I really like the mentality that he plays with as well. Like I'm confident in my game. It's something that they're not getting from Okongwu and they're not getting from Jalen Johnson right now. It's confidence. Like, and that carries so much weight. Like it's so important to be like because we're seeing what it looks like offensively for an unconfident John Collins. Like he's a better offensive player than what he's shown, even with the role that he's in. Like he's been in this role for a couple years now, and he's just like for whatever reason, like stuff is not clicking for him the way that it typically has. But you look at AJ, he comes in the game. I mean, Nate put him in the game in the fourth quarter to try to start a comeback. Played 12 full minutes in the fourth quarter after not playing at all. And AJ played as if he was a starter. Like that's just his mentality.
He's confident. He plays like that all the time. He does.
Like a lot of it his age and his shooting profile and his very good handle. And he just makes good decisions with the ball in his hands. It's hard not to be high on his future. So like that's a positive. It's just, man, if they would have known about AJ, do they give DeAndre Hunter this contract?
That's a whole other. I mean, I don't know.
But also, like, if you're going to trade Hunter, couldn't you have just waited? Like, just waited a couple months? Like, to see what you have in your guys, like to see this team and be like, maybe we could do something else with Kevin Huerter potentially. But I don't know. It's just, I just feel like it's just, I really wish I had more hope in this franchise than I do right now, because I don't trust right now. If you're asking me, I don't trust management is going to make a move, whatever move they're going to make to improve the roster. Like that's just reality. Like I just don't trust this organization right now. And so like I can be in the moment hyped and excited for AJ Griffin while also being like, well, they've done this. Like I've seen them. This is not the first time wrestler has needlessly done stuff for money purposes. Like this iteration of a team, like he did it before with Al Horford. So I'm kind of like, this is the second time he's got me, and it's like.
By the way, Al just signed a new 2-year deal after they wouldn't give him 5 years 6 years ago. So just want to say that out loud. No, it's. I understand because people have, I think, confused front office and ownership a little bit. And Travis and Land, they're not perfect by any means. Like I've been accused of picking on Travis before for saying I didn't like some things that they've done. Like they're not perfect. They made some moves that I did not like. But like my fundamental, especially if you put your fan hat on, if I'm a fan, like my number one issue is like, don't say repeatedly how much money is not going to be an issue for you and then make moves that are so very clearly designed to not go with luxury tax for money purposes. Like you hamstring your front office when you say we are going to win now and we are going to make changes. And like, as soon as the season ended last year, it was like very clearly drumbeat, like stuff's changing. We're getting better. We're winning now. This is not tolerable. But, oh, by the way, not paying the tax. And it's like, well, we're already at the tax line. So like you want to make changes. We already have so much money committed to the future. I can't get better and also save money. That's really hard to do. And like, yeah, maybe there was a move out there that they could have made that was different. But the fundamental starting point of that is ownership saying no. And then, I mean, these are not comparable, but like little stuff like selling draft picks multiple times. It's like, and I know people get mad at me like, but like that's something that's like, I find that to be indefensible. And like, you could certainly say that a pick in the 40s isn't going to change your life. And I get it. I do understand that, but like, it's the principle of like, there is no basketball reason to sell a draft pick. And
Brad, look at this Hawks bench.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That team stocked their bench with second round picks, hopeful guys, so they can be in their system for a couple years, so that if push comes to shove, the injury happens or something happens, you have a guy who's been in your system for a couple years, who you like because you drafted him, who will be there. Like a Bruno Fernando type, just throwing a name out.
Well,
I love that the Hawks traded Bruno Fernando for Dylan Wright. Great trade. Didn't let Dylan Wright go. And now Bruno Fernando is kind of shown to be a decent caliber backup big man in this league.
Well, if you go down the list of like all the guys that the Hawks have had on their roster that they could have kept on their roster, and the Bruno thing is different, like you just said.
But like,
they could have DeLon Wright on the roster right now, and like maybe DeLon wanted to leave. He wasn't restricted, so they had the cover of like he did sign somewhere else for a bunch of money. They could say that, but yeah, they clearly skimped on the bench this year, and that's part of the deal when you go get a guy like Murray and don't pay the tax. But that second part is up to you. Like it's under your control. So, I mean, even coming into the year, even if they had perfect health, which by the way, no teams have perfect health. That's just not what happens. But even if you have perfect health, they already had questions in the rotation.
Yep.
And then you got guys on this team that have had injury stuff before. DeAndre Hunter has not been the picture of durability in his career. Even Collins has had a few things along the way. Last year got banged up. He had the ankle thing a few years ago. Like he's not been like injury prone, but he's missed games. Like guys miss games. Capela's got feet stuff.
He's missed like 10 to 15 games.
Capela's always got like something nagging somewhere. Trey's been incredibly durable for a guy his size in particular, but just in general. But you can't bank on everybody being healthy. And this is obviously a perfect storm situation, but there's a chance on Friday playing a good team at home on December 2nd they're going to be fielding a team that's like Trey, DeJounte, and a whole lot of prayer. Like they got 7 or 8 guys in the injury report. Maybe more than that. It might be more like almost 10. But then you're going to, like, last night's a good example of this too. Yes, you had 2 injuries during the game, but both your two-way guys were in the rotation last night before the Hunter and Collins injuries. Forrest and Culver played in the first half last night. Those are your two-way guys. It was November 30th. It wasn't a back-to-back. And it wasn't like you had like crazy injuries. Like, yeah, Bogey's out, Holiday's in the protocols, but like it was kind of clustered up. But number one, you have 14 guys on your team. Your 14th guy is Vic Krejci, who they don't want to play, very obviously. They played him last night because they had to, but he hasn't played yet so far. And like, you know, Frank Kaminsky, you signed because he was making the minimum. That's why you signed Frank Kaminsky.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're on the rabbit hole, but I don't know. I'm tempted to say like my opinion of the team's outlook this year has not changed all that much. Like, I think I would go a little bit lower than I was preseason. Like I had him at 49, 50 wins. I'd probably go like 46 or 7 now.
Brad, here's the thing about this Hawks team. They're going to catch, like,
they're going to have a good stretch. I mean, honestly,
if Trey and Capela stay relatively healthy, they're going to, like, the shooting, the 3-point shooting is going to regress, and the offense is just going to look better as a result. Like, these guys are going to start making open 3-pointers more consistently. If they get Bogey back, like, Bogey has consistently been the fulcrum of this team, when he's relatively healthy, when he's going, that's just an added bonus for the offense, and it kind of steamrolls itself. And so, like, I wouldn't even say, like, I still think this team has a chance to be one of to host home court in the first round of the playoffs. But it's unfortunate that when they had relatively good health, that
they didn't win a lot.
They didn't capitalize. Like, they weren't. They weren't. But even before the 3-game losing streak, they weren't playing all that well. The offense is a mess. The process is bad. Their offensive process is just bad, like bad habits. And like we're getting guys who have been good basketball players underperform their talent level to start a season. Like, it's kind of very similar to the last couple of years. And maybe that's just how it's going to be with Trae Young teams, just because Trae Young's such an offensive reliant basketball player. If the offense isn't clicking, like, it's going to be tough. So I don't know. I wish I was more, like, I feel like I'd be more hopeful about the season overall if I liked what I've seen from DeAndre Hunter. And I think he's just been okay. Like, he's been okay for him.
I think he's been pretty good on defense, and offensively, it's more of the same. Is what I would say.
Yeah, he's been pretty good with Capela on defense. Okongwu, I just feel like when if he's playing the 4, I hate to bang the rebounding drum, but like,
he can't rebound, man. He can't do it.
He cannot rebound, and like it's a big deal for this team. They can't grab a rebound when Capela's off the floor, and
I will say he is rebounding better this year. He has a defensive rebound rate of 11.8%, which is still just absolutely terrible. But it was 10. It was 10 last year. So moving on, I don't want to trigger you for the rest of the night.
I don't want to talk about DeAndre.
We'll get out of here in a second. No, I agree. I mean, and I don't want to put too much on Bogey, but you said something a minute ago that I wanted to drive home. Even 2 years ago, when they made the famous run in the second half, yes, Trey was awesome, as Trey is wont to be, but the two guys who really keyed that run were Capela and Bogey. Bogey was the second best shooter in the universe for 3 months.
He was the best shooter in the universe for my money. He was shooting 50%.
I understand.
Steph wasn't doing that.
Steph's an alien, so Steph doesn't move from that spot. But the point is what the point is. Like, he was shooting 50% on volume for 3 months, and that's not sustainable for anybody, even Steph. But like, and then Capela, and then the good thing is, if you want to be positive, this year Capela they can make a run with that guy. Because last year, Capela was still a good player. And there was the whole discussion we had about it. You and I did, other people did. People like Capela's terrible. Like, no, he's just not the same guy he was the year before. Like, you could still be good. Now, Capela, at this moment right here, December 1, Capela would probably be on my all-defense ballot. That's how good he's been. He's been incredibly good so far. Incredibly.
And also, he's finishing his layups. Like, it's,
he was dunking everything last night. I was like, oh.
Complaining about Capela? Like, no. Because this is the guy I saw in Houston on offense.
Dunking everything last night. It was, by the way, hold on. Actually, I just remembered something. I'm pretty sure I might have blacked out last night. I'm pretty sure. Did you call for Capela post-ups last night? Did I see that on Twitter? I
did. They were guarding him with DeJounte Murray's mortal enemy, whose name I'm blanking right now.
Paolo Banchero?
Yeah, they were guarding with Paolo, and like Paolo couldn't challenge his lefty hook. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, we got all these injuries, and this fourth quarter offense.
Just run it through Clint, baby.
Just keep dumping it down until they make a change. Like I'm like, if Collins going to be out, honestly,
it reminded me of you remember in the World Cup or the Olympics. I think you remember when France was playing through Rudy Gobert on the post.
Yeah,
and it was working, and it was like kind of felt like that last night. It was like, wow, Clint Capela's like doing stuff in the post. It was kind of funny more than anything else. But I had somebody actually, a Hawks fan that usually watches everybody, they were missing last night's game, and I had tweeted at the beginning of the game that Capela was guarding Banchero, and Banchero was guarding Capela, and he was like, "Wait, are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's basically playing center for them because Bol weighs 180 pounds. Like Banchero is basically their center, which is hilarious, but it happened." And Clint, as he does against Giannis and everybody else, like he was good against Paolo because he's really smart, man. Like Clint's, I love Capela. He's been so good this year. My heart is warmed by that, Tyler. Nothing else has gone right this season other than Clint Capela vindicating me after all these years.
I mean, like I said, man, this is the guy. Like Capela's playing at the level that he played at for about 2 to 3 weeks when he was healthy for one moment, his first like real year in Atlanta, that Eastern Conference run. Like before he got hurt, I think against the Knicks where he hurt his back. Yeah, he was playing incredible basketball. I think he made Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Like this is 2020 Capela. This is 20 points, 20 rebounds. Clint Capela, the Hawks guy. He's just not doing that because he's not playing the minutes, and like he shouldn't be playing the minutes because it's 82 game season and Conway's still pretty good, and they want to develop him. But like Capela's been great, and with Collins out, like that's just another. That's
even more pressure on Capela, though. It really is.
Guys, so like you're really going to need Capela to, be there at all times because I mean he's been incredible. I still wish he could, make a pass or dribble just, like a functional NBA player. But yeah, I can't complain too much. If he's going to continue to make these lefty hooks.
Can't complain too much. Can't complain too much. Tower Jones, like Capela. I might quote that in the future. No, I mean, we talked about a lot, obviously covered a lot of ground. Capela, they need him more than ever now without Collins because, Collins has been really good defensively. I know for all the offensive talking.
Yeah, for as good as Capela's been on defense, he's going to really miss Collins helping him out.
Oh, everybody. Yeah, no, absolutely. 100% true. I mean,
that's like Collins it's funny. I was having this thought because I actually think Collins has helped his trade value because of how well he's playing defensively, and like smart teams would know you put him in a system where he's just a roller or that's his primary thing. Like he's still going to be an elite offensive player, but like he's been really like he's been incredible on defense. And like I mean, even last night, before he got hurt, like Banchero couldn't do anything against him. Like every time they got matched up, like Banchero would try to move and he'd lose the ball because he's just so solid now on that end of the floor, and very good at help defense as well. Very good at cleaning the glass off the weak side and starting the breaks that they don't run because Trey and DeJounte don't want to push the pace apparently. But like,
full circle.
Imagine if DeJounte and Trey just consistently push the ball up the floor like you did to start the season. The offense would probably be a bit better, but I'm not the coach.
You're just one man. No, I would have been floored by this revelation, but I mean, without question, Collins has been better defensively than offensively this season. Like, not even close. And that would have been unthinkable. Even 2 years ago, much less 4 or 5 years ago, that I would have closed the podcast. But even 2 years ago, when he was already getting better defensively, he was still obviously an offense first player. Like, this year's Collins has been genuinely good defensively, and it's kind of weird. Like, people haven't caught up yet, and I get why. But yeah, they're going to miss him a lot, especially on the glass. And we talked about it with Hunter. But even with Jalen, who has been a good rebounder in the past, he's not really rebounding that well this year. And then you throw in they're going to have to play small more without Collins, whether it be Holiday at the 4 or whatever. And then those lineups are it's basically please, 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 Clint, bail us out. Because otherwise, they have no other way to get stops.
Yeah, what ends up happening in these lineups is that they have to do a switching scheme because none of our guards can get through a single screen. Apparently, they can't get through a screen. So Capela's switching out to the perimeter, and then it's people are surprised the Hawks can't grab a defensive rebound. The Raptors game when Collins fouled out off some nonsense from the officials, but he fouled out of the game. The Hawks couldn't grab a defensive rebound. I still don't know how they won that game. The Raptors, I think the Raptors, even with how shorthanded they were that night, maybe not have the ball in Scottie Barnes' hands all the time. If they would have done literally anything else, I think they cruise comfortably because the Hawks could not grab a contested rebound to save their lives. And that's kind of going to be the issue going forward with this team. So it's really going to be even more important that offensively they execute, because I don't think they're going to have the defensive backbone that they've had to carry them throughout this.
They're going to need to be better on offense. I mean,
they're going to have to score. They're just
overall they will have to be, as we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, but especially now, because again, I would say, let's say the combined absences of Hunter and Collins, the bigger losses on defense there.
Yep.
With this current roster, because they can play lineups on offense, especially if Bogey's back, that can score. AJ being out there really helps that, but they can play some lineups that if you go small with shooting, just inherently guys, they'll be able to score a little bit easier. But you're trying to get stops with lineups that have, let's say, AJ Griffin and Justin Holiday at the 3 and the 4 with Trey. You're not getting the stops are going to be hard to come by unless Clint's just an absolute alien defensively.
Right.
So,
right. Or sacrilege, I know.
Oh,
they could just play a combo at the 4 in small stretches. I mean, I know that'd be experimenting. It's the only experiment Nate apparently doesn't want to do this season. But
okay, I have one. I would like to see that just as an experiment. Now, I don't think it's what I would want to do, but I do want to see them try it. And if they did it, it's a lot easier to do that when you have Bogey or AJ or both. One way to grease that would be to, I think you basically either have to play those guys with both Trey and DeJounte.
I think DeJounte has to be off the floor.
Or I was gonna say, or Trey, AJ, Bogey, and the two of them.
I think that's the only way you could even possibly conceivably get that lineup on the floor. But I'm just saying, from a pure, we got to buy minute. To me, Brad, I'm just looking at it. I'm just looking at a big picture. I want Okongwu on the floor more than I want Justin Holiday on the floor, right? Or Jalen Johnson on the floor, or honestly, or Jarrett Culver on the floor.
This is going to sound crazy, but with how they're using John, they can kind of use Okongwu the same way.
I mean, John doesn't have a role in offense. You might as well just. I would just fill the John Collins role of not doing anything.
It's kind of a two-way street there, but because Okongwu is at least willing to shoot an 18-footer now. He'll take it if he's open. You have to play. You have to use him as a floor spacer. I don't know if they'll ever do it, but we'll see.
Look, space him out to the 3-point line. He doesn't have to shoot it.
Just stand there.
Just space him out there. You're not going to. It's not as if this team's going to suddenly throw him the basketball.
No, literally make him PJ Tucker and just have him stand literally in the corner of the court.
Oh
both feet. All right, we gotta get out of here because I have to go do other things. But Tyler, thank you for talking to me for what's definitely going to be two parts. By the time people listen to this, it's definitely going to be a two-part episode. Anything to plug before we get out of here?
Anything to plug?
New shows? Are you just watching soccer all day long, or what's going on?
No, I'm doing a lot. So I'm watching football. Please, you can call everybody. I'm fine with calling it soccer, by the way, but do not buy into this hype that you have to call it soccer or you have to call it football. Like nobody cares that much. But please, American soccer fans, please stop with that embarrassing chant. That chant actively makes me cringe. It's called soccer. Like, please relax. Okay.
Okay. Well, there you go.
But now I'm watching a lot of soccer. I'm watching anime. Bleach has been incredible. Spy X Family's been incredible. Like Chainsaw Man, list goes on. Y'all know the deal. But I'm also reading. Hunter x Hunter is back. I know this doesn't mean anything to you, Brad, but like Hunter x Hunter is back, and like I've missed, and like Togashi has revealed a revelation for like this has been like a storyline almost 20 years in the making, almost roughly about 18 or so years in the making. So it's exciting to get a conclusion to this. Nice little story arc for us fans, for us day oneers. But other than that, nothing really new. But how about you, Brad? What are you doing? What are you looking? What pop culture thing?
Oh God!
I know. The last time I asked you this, you were like Top Gun Maverick, which I still haven't seen. I've been meaning.
I've watched it. I've watched it multiple times. It's on planes now, so it's just like something you can watch on a plane. I have not watching anything. Oh, I did. In an effort to be a regular person, I watched the weird Pepsi plane documentary thing on Netflix.
Do you remember that?
No, I have no recollection of that at all. But it was a cool little mini documentary thing. That was fun.
I don't remember that Pepsi one. I do remember the McDonald's. Do you remember the McDonald's story? Like the McDonald's,
the McMillions thing? Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, that's the one I remember. But I can't believe they promised a plane and lied about it. That's interesting. So I gotta check that out. I've been meaning to.
Yeah,
watch.
you can. That was. I will give that. It's not like the best thing I've ever seen or anything, but it was certainly entertaining, and I didn't know about that. So that's my pop culture minute for the day, Tyler. That's all I got for you. Other than that, basketball mostly because it's that time of year. All right, follow you on Twitter if people are able, if you allow them to. Jonesy2x4. People,
if we still have Twitter, yeah.
If we still have Twitter in the near future. But yeah, thank you for coming on as always, my friend. We'll do this again soon, hopefully under some more optimistic circumstances. But we got some positive stuff out there. AJ Griffin, Clint Capela.
Look, man, I want to talk smack. Like I'm chained up. I have to be like, nah, man, the Cavs are just better. I got to be like, oh, the Celtics are going to run through the Eastern Conference. Like I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be like, oh, the Celtics are so good. Like who? This Celtics start 38-year-old Al Horford, who I respect and love, who they should retire his jersey. But like I don't be rooting for them like that. I don't want to be the Cavs. Oh, everybody loves the Cavs. Look at our Evan Mobley. He's so good, even though he has no offense ability. But like we love him. He can't roll to the rim because he's 7 foot tall and 203 pounds. But we love him so much. Oh wow, he plays power forward. Can't play a single minute of center. Great basketball player. That's what it takes.
Was that my voice you just did there for the last 30 seconds? Was that me?
No, that was typical Cleveland, Ohio Cavs.
At least it wasn't me.
Cavs have been great. Raptors have been great. Hawks have been trash. So I can't even
12-10. They're on pace for like 44 wins. It's been fine so far.
The same team could have copy and paste last year pod.
All right. On that note, I'm getting out of here. Thank you, Tyler, for being here as always. As for everybody else, please subscribe to the podcast. I'm writing again on Patreon if you want to listen. I guess read that. All the posts are free still, so check that stuff out. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Hawks. Follow Tyler on Twitter. We'll see y'all actually after the game on Friday because the Hawks play in very short order. So Friday, home game, Hawks Nuggets. We'll see you after that.